Captain Rafe Lucan shifted uncomfortably in the steel command chair of the warship. Titan's edge. His broad shoulders were rigid beneath layers of armor. But his eyes never left the figure kneeling defiantly before him, an alien woman with violet blue skin, platinum hair cascading down her back, and a stubborn fire in her eyes that outshone the ship's lead panels. She was gorgeous, yes, but more than that, dangerous, enigmatic, lethal. The tribunal chamber was packed, elite armored. Guards flanked the room, rifles in hand. Scientists peered through the glass observation decks above. Jasmine, the last surviving Xanthari war clan priestess, was a prisoner of war technically, and also the sole reason the second skirmish over Nebula X hadn't turned into a massacre. "I am not your pet," she hissed again, low and venomous. Voice like static electricity crackling down Rafe's spine. "Do not parade me like one. You saved my crew. You disobeyed your command." "That's not a war criminal," Rafe said evenly. "That's a hero." Her lip curled. "Your people would rather dissect me than listen to truth. I betrayed my kind for you, for logic, and you chained me like a beast." Everyone expected her to resist, to lash out, to stay cold. But instead, to the stunned silence of the room, she climbed up into Rafe's lap with the fluid grace of a predator and sat there, shoulders straight, spine proud, gaze defiant. "Then I'll stay right here," Jasmine whispered. "Let your humans see me. I'm not a weapon, but I am yours now." The room erupted. Shouts, protests, the clattering of boots, and Rafe. He didn't move, didn't flinch. His arms slowly curled around her waist. She wasn't his pet. She was his storm.
The evening air inside the crashed freighter was thick with tension. Outside, the jungle pulsed with the hum of nocturnal predators. Inside, only the flickering light from the emergency beacon bathed the room in dull red shadows. Jasmine sat perched on a supply crate, her arms crossed, tail twitching. Her luminous eyes darted toward the human commander Rylan Voss as he worked at a broken data console. The earlier battle had left him bruised, shirt torn, and covered in streaks of alien mud. "You act like I belong to you," she muttered, her voice sharp, but the tremor behind her words betrayed something else. Rylan didn't look up. "I never said you did." "You didn't have to." Her tone softened slightly. "I've been owned before. I know what it looks like." He stopped, turned slowly. "Jasmine, I didn't drag you from that prison cell to own you. I did it because no one else was going to save you." She looked away, her jaw tight. "Then why didn't you let me run?" "Because, Rylan hesitated, then walked toward her, boots echoing in the stillness. "Because watching you walk into that storm alone would have broken me," Jasmine blinked. Her defenses cracked just for a second, but that was enough. She stood, brushed past him, then paused without warning. She turned and slipped into his lap, her knees bracketing his sides as she settled close. Her scent was wild and electric, her breath hot against his neck. "I'm not your pet," she whispered again. "I know," he said, hands hovering uncertainly at her waist. "You're free." She rested her forehead against his. "Then hold me like I'm precious." And he did. Outside, the jungle roared. But inside that broken ship, two fugitives, one human, one alien, clung to the only warmth left in the galaxy. The sunrise turned the alien sky into fire. Jasmine stirred beside Rylan. Curled close in the makeshift bed they'd built from salvaged thermal blankets and wreckage padding. She shifted with a soft sigh, the bioluminescent patterns on her skin fading in the growing light. Rylan watched her, unable to look away. She wasn't human. She was faster, stronger, sharper in every way, but there was fragility too, hidden under all that alien grace. And trust. He hadn't earned it easily. The ship's proximity alarm howled to life. Jasmine jolted upright. "Someone's coming." Rylan grabbed his rifle. "I'll check it." Jasmine followed him to the console, her bare feet light on the Floor, you're not leaving me behind again. He didn't argue. Outside, 2 dropships descended into the jungle clearing, marked with the sigil of the Sarn Dominion slavers. Jasmine's expression twisted into pure hatred. They tracked me, she growled. They always do. Rylan loaded a plasma charge into his launcher. Then they'll regret it. A voice crackled from a loudspeaker. Turn over the escaped asset and we'll spare the human. Jasmine trembled. I'm not theirs anymore. Rylan stepped beside her. You never were. She looked at him, really looked at the man who'd seen her not as property, not as an exotic tool, but as someone worth fighting for. Her decision was immediate. She walked to the supply crate, unlatched the hidden compartment, and pulled out her armor. Dark iridescent plating molded to her limbs like it had been waiting. She slid a slender blade into a thigh sheath and handed Rylan a second plasma cell. If we die, human, she said, lips curling. At least it won't be in chains. Rylan grinned. I was hoping you'd say that. They fought side by side. As the slavers stormed the freighter, blaster fire screamed. Metal walls hissed with heat. Jasmine moved like a storm, lethal and beautiful. Rylan covered her flank, guarding her back like it was sacred. She was no longer just the frightened girl in his lap. She was his partner. His equal, his reason, and he would burn the galaxy before letting anyone take her again. Jasmine's blade hummed, alive with heat and memory. The corridor reeked of scorched metal and blood. Around her, bodies of Sarn soldiers lay twisted, and Rylan stood breathing hard beside her, chest rising and falling beneath the weight of battle. But they weren't done yet. More boots pounded above. Reinforcements. Jasmine turned to Rylan, eyes blazing with determination. We hold them here. They won't take me alive. You think I'd let them? He shot back, checking the last energy cell in his rifle. She hesitated for a heartbeat, then reached up and touched his cheek. Why do you care this much? Rylan met her gaze. Because no one should ever look as broken as you did when I first found you. Her breath caught. And before she could respond, the ceiling above exploded. Steel beams rained down. Rylan threw himself over Jasmine, shielding her with his body. They crashed to the ground together. Smoke, shouts, laser fire, but through it all, Jasmine could hear his voice murmuring into her ear, steady and calm. Stay with me. We get through this. She reached for her blade and rose, pulling him up. Together they leapt through the smoke, slicing and shooting as they moved like one body, one mind. Enemies fell before them, then a sudden hiss, a containment collar, a Sarn trap snapped around Jasmine's neck from a distance. Electric current jolted through her. She collapsed, gasping, No! Rylan bellowed, lunging toward her. The Sarn commander stepped forward, towering and armored in obsidian. She's ours. Rylan didn't answer. He just pulled the trigger. The plasma bolt struck the commander's chest, igniting the armor. The commander howled as flames consumed him. Rylan dropped beside Jasmine and wrenched the collar off. Her eyes fluttered open. You stayed? I'll always stay, he whispered. She blinked rapidly. You could have run, he smiled. I'm not leaving the woman I love. Jasmine's lips parted in shock. No one had ever said that to her, not even in jest. And then the last wave of Sarn soldiers charged. Jasmine rose to her feet beside Rylan. You love me, she said with quiet wonder, her voice trembling as she activated her blade. He smirked. Now let's make them regret ever laying a hand on you. Together they fought like fury incarnate. Jasmine danced between enemy blades, her movements infused with the strength of someone who finally knew she was more than a weapon. She was wanted, cherished, chosen. When the last Sarn soldier fell, silence returned. Rylan collapsed onto the floor, panting. Jasmine knelt beside him and, without a word, crawled into his lap. He blinked. What are you doing? I told you I wasn't your pet, she said softly. But maybe I'm something better, he laughed, breathless. Yeah? She curled up tighter against him. Your partner. The stars outside the viewport gleamed like fresh beginnings. Somewhere, freedom waited. Somewhere, love was real. And in that moment, with her fingers twined in his, Jasmine knew she'd never leave this human. Not for 1,000 galaxies. Thanks for staying through their entire story. Want more tailies? of impossible love and fierce battles between humans and aliens. Subscribe to keep reading new HFY sci-fi romance every week.